Hey, what's going on YouTube? James from J Kramer Fitness Protein Review Guide. Today, we are going to go ahead and take a look at Earth-Fed Muscle's Common Ground plant-based protein. And as always, the first question we've got to answer is Earth-Fed Muscle Common Ground really good? Short answer, it's part satisfying smoothie, part label bath mystery. So what does this thing do well? The good side. Taste and mixability knocks it out of the park. The chocolate flavor is creamy, no grit, no pulverized pea notes that you're accustomed to with pea proteins. The brand tells a story. Sustainable, small batch, family run. That authenticity shows through in the user vibe. Now, we're good fades. The caveats. The 15-gram protein listed. Once you do the digestibility math, it lands probably closer to the 10 to 12 gram usable protein range. Every amino acid number is manufacturer provided, no third-party audits. That's a transparency gap. The market's organic loudly, but doesn't prevent a USD organic certifier on the label. That's commonly found in Truvani or even Sunwarrior proteins. When you're dropping $60 on a vegan protein powder, third-party testing is one of the first things that separates marketing spend from actual credibility. With Earth-Fed Muscle, the safety side looks strong, but the transparency side has some transparency gaps. In this section, we'll break down where the brand earns trust, where it still leans too heavily on the self-reported number. Earth-Fed Muscle checks a lot of right boxes. Common Ground protein powder carries an NSF ANSI 173 listing for dietary supplements, and it's made in a CGMP facility. That means it clears the third-party bar for safety and quality. Here's where Earth-Fed Muscle separates itself from other plant-based protein powders. Common Ground does not carry a Prop 65 warning. Now, looking at levels of lead, there are trace levels like every plant-based protein, but that difference is disclosure. They even choose cocoa beans for low heavy metal content. You got a company that treats Prop 65 like a safety net, not marketing landmine. Now, if you're wondering if this protein powder is playing the amino spiking game, the transparency is still weak, always still a weak point. Scoop math says 15 grams of protein, but digestibility for pea and hemp protein drops closer to, like I shared, the 11 to 13, maybe 12 gram usable protein range. It's not fraud, it's kind of the reality. However, the red flag is supplemental facts loophole. FDA labeling rules give brands more flexibility with protein, percent daily value calculations, and with broad terms like natural flavors. Translation, a label can look clean while leaving key details buried. Now, every amino acid number you see on Common Ground page, they're self-reported by the manufacturer, no third-party verification. Until those numbers are independently confirmed, you're taking them on trust. Bottom line, Earth-Fed Muscle doesn't show signs of amino spiking, but it hasn't earned full trust either. The gap isn't fillers, it's verification. When you stack Earth-Fed Muscle Common Ground against competition, the differences aren't just in the scoop size, they are in the transparency. Here's how this thing stacks up against 4 other plant-based protein powders. Ritual leans on a single source pea protein with third-party amino verification, making it more efficient for muscle recovery. Transparent Labs is built for proof and performance with a bigger scoop and verified amino data. Vega is a budget-friendly daily driver with greens tossed in. Orgain doubles as a mini meal replacement with more carbs and fiber for fullness. When you line up Earth-Fed Muscle's Common Ground against Ritual, the differences show up in the protein yield and proof. Looking at the protein amount, Ritual delivers 20 grams of protein at 1.785 grams of leucine, which is informed protein verified, while Earth-Fed Muscle lands closer to 12 grams with the usable amount of 1.1 per scoop. Now, looking at verifications, Ritual's numbers are independently confirmed. Earth-Fed Muscle's amino acid profile is a manufacturer supplied with no third-party verification. Looking at cost per serving, this 30 serving tub is $60, coming out $2 per scoop. Now, a bag of Ritual is pretty hefty at $3.27 per serving, but there is that third-party verification and a larger amount of transparency. Ritual wins on efficiency and proof, fewer scoops to reach muscle protein synthesis with third-party backing. This thing holds the edge on serving count and price stability, but without verification, it just stays in the trust us lane. Now, matching Earth-Fed Muscle Common ground against Transparent Labs protein comes down to density and proof. First up, protein and leucine. The Transparent Labs branded plant protein comes in at 17 grams of usable protein and with 2.15 grams of leucine, which is third-party verified, while earth-fed muscle, you already know, closer to 12 grams of usable and 1.1 grams of leucine. The verification lot, Transparent Labs offers third-party verification and certificate of analysis. Earth-fed muscle does come with the lot certifications. However, the amino acid profile is self-reported. Looking at the price per serving, earth-fed muscle comes in at $2 per serving, as well as Transparent Labs. So that's equal lines there. Looking at the bottom line, Transparent Labs is the more cost-efficient pick due to the more protein, more leucine, and the independent verification of the amino acid profile at the same price. The matchup between earth-fed muscles versus Vega proteins plus super greens comes down to efficiency versus cost. You already know the routine with earth-fed muscle. When compared against Vega, 14 grams of usable protein with 0.89 grams of leucine. However, I think that's a huge red flag because even though I haven't reviewed that protein yet, I think there are concerns for fillers. I will be doing a review on Vega protein down the line. Now, looking at verification, you do have that lot request, plus it is NSF verified. Vega lists nutrition openly, but doesn't provide the same level lot-specific third-party depth. Now, looking at price per serving, $2 per serving for earth-fed muscle. Vega hits extremely cheap at $1.26, making it a budget-friendly with greens option. Bottom line, Vega is your daily driver value pick if you're on a budget, especially with the built-in greens. However, earth-fed muscle wins on protein density, amino profile, and the third-party testing for cleanliness. Finally, the matchup between earth-fed muscles common ground versus Orgain's plant-based light meal replacement shake. As you already know, 12 grams and 1.1 grams of leucine with earth-fed muscle. Orgain hits with 16 grams of usable protein with 1.7 grams of leucine. In regards to verification, you already know NSF certified with lot-specific COAs upon request. Orgain does publish a full amino acid profile, but doesn't offer the same level of independent testing or lot level specifics. However, the price and servings per scoop, $2 for this thing versus Orgain's 20 servings at $30.98, which comes out to be $1.55 per serving. The bottom line here, Orgain does offer the better value choice, bigger scoops at a lower price due to more of a meal replacement light. However, earth-fed muscle leans lighter and more transparent. If you want to pay more for protein delivered, maybe this one may be the better choice. Now, looking at Amazon reviews for earth-fed muscles common ground, there's only 31 listed reviews coming at 4.4 out of 5 stars. Earth-fed muscle common ground doesn't have the crowd size of a big box brand, but the signal is clear. Buyers who really love it and those who don't can't get past the texture or sweetness, which is pretty standard for plant-based protein powder. Now, looking at the 5-star highlight, reviewers shared my absolute favorite, blends seamlessly, my favorite. Second reviewer shared perfect choice, it didn't disappoint. The powder blends easily, flavor balance is excellent, solid chocolate, cleaner, tastier. The only minor downside coming in at 15 grams. Well worth it in there. Finally, the third reviewer shared fantastically made, delicious, blends fairly easily, plant-based, doesn't contain gluten or soy, uses pea protein instead. Reviewers here with the 1-star complaints. First reviewer shared not a pleasant experience, very gritty, odd, greenish taste, way too much sweetness. The finish is extremely unpleasant, just gross. Let's go ahead and get into the pros and cons of earth-fed muscles common ground. First up, as always, the pros. Mixability is elite when I did the testing. Common ground shakes smooth in cold water with no grit or sludge, which is rare for a plant-based protein. Flavor execution, chef kiss. Chocolate, especially drinks like real cocoa, not peas. A legit win for daily compliance. I do love the fact that this thing is NSF certified for safety. You get the lot level specifics for the COA and heavy metal screening. Puts earth-fed muscle above most boutique brands on the market at the same price point. Looking at the cons, protein density is weak, listed at 15 grams on the label, but the reality, depending on flavor, ranges between 10 to 12 grams of usable protein once digestibility is factored in. There are some transparency gaps with this brand. There is a lot of advertising for organic claims without a USDA certifier on the organic. And there is also that concern of self-reported amino data leaving trust holes. And then finally, the price tag, $2 per serving, costs more per gram of protein than stronger and better verified competitors like Transparent Labs and Ritual. Now, if you're wondering if this thing is going to be enough to stimulate muscle protein synthesis, and if you think one serving is going to be enough, no. One scoop of earth-fed muscle common ground provides 15 grams of protein between 1.1 and 1.2 grams of leucine, falls way below the scientifically supported recovery threshold. To fully stimulate muscle protein synthesis, research suggests you should be aiming around 2.5 to 3 grams of leucine in one dose. This usually means somewhere around the 25 to 30 grams of high quality protein. With common ground, one scoop berry delivers a third of the leucine you need. At that dosing, you're topping off macros, not driving recovery. To get into that anabolic zone, you probably need closer to 2.5 scoops of common ground mixed with water. All right, with all that information shared, everyone's favorite part of the review, assembling the protein shake. And we have our daily driver here, and we are going to go ahead and use one chocolate Plant Boy scoop going in. Let's go ahead, lock her up, shake. This thing is a game changer for shakeability. There are 0 clumps or cake bits. Looking underneath the shaker, boom, nothing. The reason why that this protein powder mix is fantastic is because they use silica. But if you are somebody who wants an easy to mix shake, this thing is a bona fide home run. Now, in regards to the sweetener used in this, stevia, if you've been following my reviews for a long period of time, I'm not a big fan of stevia. And usually for me, stevia comes off as overly medicinal and borderline undrinkable. So let's go ahead, give ourselves the common grounds chocolate taste test. Cheers. So, no denying it, you are still getting that pea flavor protein in it. However, if you are someone who is getting into plant-based protein powders, I think this is the best tasting one that I've reviewed to date. The chocolate comes off strong. It doesn't come off overly sweet. The chocolate comes in, and then, of course, then the pea protein flavoring comes in. The texture is velvety, not gritty. I think it comes off borderline smooth. The question is, would I buy this chocolate protein? The answer is yes. Flavor is fantastic, and to date, I think this is the best tasting pea protein I've drank. You may be wondering, is common ground protein the best plant-based protein powder? If we're talking flavor and texture, common ground chocolate is a straight up home run. No grit, no sludge, no chalky clumps. It's rare that a plant-based protein you can actually look forward to drinking. You can argue it is kind of borderline dessert inspired, and for once, that's not just a marketing spin. Among vegan proteins, this one hits the palate better than most. But does that make it the best organic plant protein? Not quite. The manufacturing certifications are solid, NSF listing, COA batch levels is available. There is proof of heavy metal screening, but the independent protein verification isn't there. Every leucine number and it is self-reported, and there is not any third-party verification on the profile. Furthermore, the claim of organic on the label, there is no USD organic certifier name, leaving a gap between clean branding and airtight transparency. So who should earth-fed muscle common ground be used for? If you want a plant-based protein that actually tastes good, smooth, no grit, dessert level chocolate flavor, and you're tired of choking down chalk, this thing is for you. It's also a safe bet if you care about NSF certification, batch level COAs on request, and heavy metal screening with the proof and testing baked into the brand's process. Now let's go ahead and do a roll call of the competitors compared. Looking at Ritual Protein Powder, verified sourcing, transparent amino panel, premium but pricier. Looking at Transparent Labs plant-based protein, one of the best in class for third-party proof and protein density. Vega protein plus greens, budget friendly with extra greens, but offers extremely low leucine yield. And then finally, Orgain plant protein, super affordable and is catered more as a meal replacement shake, more so than a post-workout protein. You may be wondering what I gave Common Ground and what was the final score. 29 out of 58%. Earth-fed muscle Common Ground isn't bad. It is super tasty, satisfying, certified for safety, and very consumer forward focused. But when the core metrics is protein quality and transparency, it misses the mark. If you're new to plant protein powders, I have no problems recommending this one just based off of flavor and mixability. If you want the full breakdown, including the deep dive into Prop 65 data, batch level testing, amino yield math, and FDA labeling loopholes, head over to my full review at jkernerfitness.com. And as always, thank you for making it to the end of another review. Make it a great day.